2013, when news broke that Oscar Pistorius has killed his model girlfriend Viva Steenkamp. According to police, Steenkamp was shot and killed on the morning of February 14 with bullet wounds to the head and one arm.
Confirmed that a male has been taken into custody and he's going to probably appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today.
Where's Oscar at the moment?
Mr. Pistorius is still at his house at the moment.
What time did it happen?
Early hours of this morning at about 4 o'clock.
And who alerted the police? Was it neighbours?
A neighbour alerted the police, that's correct.
And,
where was she shot?
At this stage, we're not going to disclose that information. Obviously, there will be an autopsy during the course of the day to establish her injuries.
And can you say where in the house she was shot? Was she in the bedroom, in the entrance to the house?
Look, that obviously at this stage is the subject of the investigation, so we can't disclose that at this stage.
So is Oscar speaking to you? Is he cooperating? Is he speaking to you?
Yes, he's giving his full cooperation at this stage.
Is he in shock? How is he? His state of
Well, obviously, I'm not going to comment on his state of mind, but obviously he is shocked. He's lost somebody very dear to him, so he is shocked, but he is cooperating.
Is he going to be detained? I mean, has he been detained at this point in time?
All I can say is that a 26-year-old male has been detained and will be appearing in court later today.
Do you know which court?
On the 15th of February 2013, Pistorius appeared before the Pretoria Magistrate Court, where he burst into tears as prosecutors announced they intend to pursue a charge of premeditated murder. On the 19th of February 2013, during a hearing at the Magistrate Court in Pretoria, Pistorius admitted to unintentionally shooting Steenkamp at his home on Valentine's Day. He went on to state that he had mistaken his girlfriend for an intruder and shot her through a locked bathroom door in the home. Pistorius faced a charge of premeditated murder that would result in a mandatory life sentence in the event that a guilty verdict was reached.
I approached this point of the entrance to the bathroom. I was walking with my left hand against the cabinets, against the closets, as far away from the entrance of the bathroom as I possibly could be. When I got to the point in the bottom right hand side of the photo, I had my pistol in my right hand, and I peered into the bathroom. I then made my way pretty much to where the carpet and the tile meet on the left hand side where the arrow is. The surface changed, and where I can walk more comfortably on the carpet, I wasn't able to walk have as much mobility on the tile surfaces. I kept my left hand behind me and on my shoulder against the wall, and I had my pistol raised to my eye, to the corner of the entrance of the bathroom, over this point here.
If you could just show the court, perhaps, maybe if I can just ask this assistant, can you demonstrate again, Mr. Pistorius, and keep your finger there? That they can maybe just bring an arrow there. Yeah. Or a little ring. Have you seen where they were indicating? Is that the correct place, Mr.
That's correct, my lady. There was no lights in the bathroom. I could see, as I slowly peered into the bathroom, I could see that the window was open indeed. I was pretty much on my back against the wall with my hand up against the wall to use as balance. I was leaning with my back, slowly scuffling along the left-hand side wall. I wasn't sure if there were people or intruders were in the toilets, or if they were on a ladder that they would have used to gain access to the first floor, or if they were around the corner at that point. I still had my firearm pointed in front of me, and I peered around the corner to look where the shower was, which is around in the bathroom, in line with the toilet.
Can I show you photo 180?
I peered around this corner, which is in the bottom right-hand side of the frame. At that point, I saw that there was no one in the bathroom. The door was closed of the toilet, and the window was open. Once I saw that there wasn't anybody around the corner waiting to attack me, I retreated a little bit, maybe a step or two back, still with my hand against the wall. I slid my back and my shoulder to help me balance. At this point, I started screaming again for Riva to phone the police. I wasn't sure where to point the firearm. I had it pointed at the toilet, but my eyes were going between the window and the toilet. I stood there for some time, not sure how long. I wasn't sure if somebody was going to come out of the toilet to attack me. I wasn't sure if someone was going to come up the ladder and point a firearm in the house and start shooting. So I just stayed where I was, and I kept on screaming. And then I heard a noise from inside the toilet, what I perceived to be somebody coming out of the toilet. Before I knew it, I'd fired 4 shots at the door. My ears were ringing, I couldn't hear anything. So I kept on shouting for Riva to phone the police. I was still scared to retreat because I wasn't sure if there was somebody on the ladder. I wasn't sure if there was somebody in the toilet.
On the 16th of February 2013, reality TV show Tropica Island Treasure, which features an interview with Riva Steenkamp, aired in South Africa 3 days after Riva was shot dead. The SABC dedicated the show to the late model.
Riva. My name is Riva, and I'm a model, and we're in Jamaica this year. Be jealous, you can be jealous. Yes, you can win R1 million, that's always good. I'm not going anywhere.
On the 19th of February 2013, Riva's funeral was held in Port Elizabeth.
and Barry have thanked the people of South Africa and around the world for the love and compassion that has been shown to them, as well as all the letters of support they've received over the last 12 months.
On the 3rd of March 2014, the trial for Pistorius began. In addition to being charged with premeditated murder, Pistorius also faced 2 separate gun indictments from incidents unrelated to the death of his girlfriend. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. Pistorius claimed that he was frightened in his home at the noise of an unknown intruder.
In that, on or about 30 September 2012, and at or near Modderfontein in this district of Kempton Park, the accused, in circumstances mentioned in count 2 above, discharged a firearm toward his 9mm pistol with reckless disregard for the other passengers in the car and all people in the vicinity.
Do you understand the charge that has been read out?
I do, my lady.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, my lady.
Thank you.
This is court, my lady, count 3. That's a contravention of section 127 of the Firearms Control Act number 60 of 2000. That the accused is guilty of the offence of contravening the provisions of section 127, retro section 1, 103, 121A, section 121, retro schedule 4, and section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, discharge of a firearm in a build-up area or any public place. The charge reads, my lady, in that during January 2013, and at Tasha's restaurant Melrose Arch in the district of Johannesburg, the accused unlawfully discharged a firearm toward a Glock 27 pistol without any good reason to do so. Tasha's restaurant is a public place.
You've heard the charge that was just read out. Do you understand the charge?
I do, my lady.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, my lady.
There's an alternative to count 3, a first alternative, my lady. Contravention of section 123A of the Firearms Control Act number 60 of 2000. That the accused is guilty of the offence of contravening the provisions of section 123A, read with sections 1, 103, 121A, section 121, read with schedule 4, and section 151 of Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, negligent damage to property. In that, on or about January 2013, and at the near Tasha's restaurant Melrose Arch in the district of Johannesburg, the accused negligently used a firearm to wit a Glock 27 pistol and caused damage to the floor of the restaurant.
Do you understand the alternative count?
I do, my lady.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, my lady.
Lady, there's a second alternative to count 3. Contravention of section 123B of the Firearms Control Act number 60 of 2000. That the accused is guilty of the offence of contravening the provisions of section 123B, read with sections 1, 103, 121A, section 121, read with schedule 4, and section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, reckless endangerment. In that, on or about January 2013, and at or near Tasha's restaurant Melrose Arch in the district of Johannesburg, the accused discharged a firearm, to wit a Glock 27 pistol, at the table in the restaurant amongst other patrons in a manner likely to endanger the safety of the people at his table and or other patrons and the property of the restaurant. The accused had, in discharging the firearm that was mentioned, shown a reckless disregard for the safety of the patrons or property of the restaurant.
Do you understand the count?
I do, my lady.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, my lady.
Pistorius' neighbor Michelle Beggar testified that she had a blood-killing scream from a woman on the night of the murder, followed by men yelling for help 3 times. Beggar also claimed to have heard gunshots. Prosecutors within the trial accused Pistorius of having argued with Steenkamp on the night of the murder, resulting in her locking herself in the toilet. Pistorius' trial attracted a large number of the media. The National Press Club and Northwest University declared the Oscar Pistorius trial as the newsmaker of the year for 2014.
As the media line grew longer, court officials were unable to handle the numbers. Tempers flared as journalists tried to push through the crowd, such is the interest in this case.
As the trial progressed, Pistorius took to the stand to defend himself. He first offered his apologies to the Steenkamp's family before continuing to claim that he shot her by accident. During his testimony, Pistorius broke down into tears. Some observers were not swayed by his show of emotion. Reports later surfaced that he had taken acting lessons before his court appearance, but Pistorius has denied these claims. His trial soon resumed and carried on for several more weeks before both sides presented their closing arguments. On September 11th, the judge in the case declared that Pistorius was not guilty of premeditated murder. Pistorius was later found guilty of culpable homicide. In October, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for the crime. At the time, some legal experts believe that Pistorius will spend as little as 10 months behind bars.
The sentence imposed is the maximum imprisonment of 5 years imposed in terms of section 276(1)(I) of the Criminal Procedure Act number 51 of 1977. 2. On count 2, the contravention of section 120 subsection 3B of the Firearms Control Act number 60 of 2000. The sentence imposed is 3 years imprisonment, wholly suspended for 5 years on condition that within the period of suspension the accused is not found guilty of a crime where there is negligence involving the use of a firearm. Paragraph 3. The sentence in count 1 and the sentence on count 2 shall run concurrently.
In June 2015, reports surfaced that Pistorius would soon be released from jail. According to reports, a parole board recommended that the former athlete be freed in August after serving only 10 months. Steenkamp's parents were deeply upset by this news. During this period, a clip of Oscar Pistorius surfaced showing Oscar Pistorius playing soccer in prison. Of October 2015, Pistorius was released from prison and placed under house arrest and correctional supervision for 4 years. In a speech given at Riva Steenkamp's former school in Port Elizabeth, her mother June said she had to forgive to move on with her life.
I've got no feelings of revenge. I don't want to hurt him. He's already a disabled person. I didn't want him to be thrown in jail and be suffering, because I don't wish suffering on anyone. And that's not going to bring Riva back, but in my heart I don't want revenge towards him. I'm past that. You know, once you've told God that you forgive, you have to forgive.
On the 3rd of December 2015, the top appeals court in South Africa ruled that Pistorius was guilty of first-degree murder of Steenkamp. The court believed that a misinterpretation of laws combined with a dismissal of circumstantial evidence caused state prosecutors to offer the lesser charge of manslaughter in 2014.
In these circumstances, I have no doubt that in firing the fatal shots, the accused must have foreseen, and therefore did foresee, that whoever was behind the toilet door might die, but reconciled himself to that event occurring and gambled with that person's life. This constituted dolus eventualis on his part, and the identity of his victim is irrelevant to his guilt. As a final counter to the state's case, it was argued that although the accused had not acted in private or so-called self-defense, there had in fact been no attack upon him that he had acted to ward off. He had genuinely but erroneously believed that his life was in danger when he fired the fatal shots. As opposed to what is commonly known as self-defense, this is so-called putative private or self-defense. Of course, the accused has now served a portion of the sentence imposed upon him in respect of the lesser offence of culpable homicide. But the issue of what would be an appropriate sentence was not debated before this court, quite properly, particularly in the light of the Constitutional Court's judgments in Nobolisa and Bogarts, as the matter must be sent back to the trial court for sentence to be imposed afresh. In doing so, obviously, whatever punishment has already been served by the accused in respect of the incorrect conviction of culpable homicide will be taken into account. Conviction and sentence on count 1 are set aside and replaced with the following: guilty of murder, with the accused having had criminal intent in the form of dolus eventualis.
Ruling that changed the course of Oscar Pistorius' legal battle. Now back in court to ascertain whether he will remain under house arrest or return to prison while he awaits sentencing for murder.
The seriousness of the offence being a murder conviction, that in itself is very serious, and obviously that must be taken into consideration. That would be the one argument in favour of the state opposing bail. However, I do not see them seriously opposing bail.
Time that the public will have full glare of Pistorius after he was spotted reporting for community service. The state is tight-lipped on whether it will oppose bail.
He complied with all the bail conditions. He attended his court proceedings up until the trial was finalized. Unless there are new circumstances that have come to the fore that warrant the state to deviate from that position.
Pistorius faces the prospect of up to 15 years behind bars. Deputy Judge President Aubrey Ledwaba will preside over the matter, which is expected to be brief, while whether Oscar Pistorius will spend Christmas at home or not will also be made known. But the actual date for the sentencing is unlikely this year.
Mrs. Steenkamp, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Is this the verdict that you as the Steenkamps were hoping for?
Yes. This is respect for my daughter and her life also, and respect for women all over this country, because we have too much of this happening and people get away with it.
It's been a protracted legal battle.
Yes.
How has it been for you as a family emotionally?
His family have suffered also. You have to think of that. 2 families totally destroyed because of what happened. But at least we have the truth now and the right decision and the right judgment, and I don't wish him any harm. So that's how I feel at the moment.
Your husband, Barry, Mr. Steenkamp,
yes,
also took severe strain.
You know, it's just been too much for him.
Was he able to cope at all during this case?
Not really. And I didn't want him to travel because he wasn't well, you know. And I was afraid if he went to court that he would take the strain and stress, and I didn't know how he would react to being so close to Oscar in the court.
What to you as the Steenkamps would be the appropriate sentence that you believe could be meted out to Oscar Pistorius?
It doesn't really matter to me, or us, Barry and I. We're not interested in now where the justice system is responsible now from taking the sentence, overturning it, and it's now a murder sentence. That's up to them now. It doesn't make a difference to me if he does 2 years, 6 years, another 5 years, or whatever.
The first public glimpse of Oscar Pistorius, the world's eyes glued. And once proceedings began, it was clear he would not be denied bail.
Are you opposing the application for bail?
No, it would be unopposed. We'll make submissions from here.
But the state would not let him off the hook lightly.
We have a convicted murderer applying for bail. So the conditions should be stricter.
The defense argued that Pistorius will not renege on any conditions imposed.
He has abided by all the bail conditions all the time, and he has shown then a history that he commits himself to the structures of the criminal justice system, and we submit that he will proceed to do so.
Pistorius will remain under house arrest. He's only allowed to leave his house between 7 a.m. and midday. He's only allowed 20 kilometers away from his uncle's home. And he'll also have to wear an electronic tag.
The applicant is released on bail of 10,000 rand to be paid on or before the 11th of December 2015 before 16 hours.
Is heading to the Constitutional Court to challenge the latest conviction.
I do think that the best argument to advance would be to state for some reason that there's been some kind of an infringement on his constitutional right to a fair trial.
Goes back into hiding, away from public scrutiny. The spotlight, though, is not expected to shift.
So, Oscar Pistorius gets to spend Christmas at home with his family. And it could be months before he sees the inside of a prison cell. Well, he's now pinning his hopes on the highest court in the land to get his freedom back.
For now, Oscar Pistorius will spend Christmas with his family. The Pistorius family is currently considering what legal steps they ought to take amid the ruling.
We're going to head over now to the sports stakes for your latest in sports with Kendall.